Well, the Indo-China joint statement just concluded. The big takeaway, of course, from the press briefing was the understanding between the two nations on the border dispute. Prime Minister Narendra Modi raised the issue of incursion with the Chinese Premier. In turn, Xi Jinping, in fact, assured him that they will work mutually and peacefully towards a solution. But the border needs to be demarcated first. This was really the point that was reiterated by both the leaders on the issue of border resolution, reiterating the fact that demarcation is absolutely essential for any resolution along the line of actual control. Deputy Editor Shiv Arur now joins me live from the newsroom for more. Shiv, apart from the fact that there was an exhaustive 12 agreements that were in fact signed, taking forward the economic cooperation between the two countries over the next 5 years, all eyes and all ears were really tuned in to what the two leaders would say about the big border dispute taking place. What do you make of the statement?
Well, all the right noises have been made, Rishika. It began with Prime Minister Modi saying there was an urgent need for the stalled process to clarify the line of actual control, to resume quickly, because as things stand for many years now, neither side has exchanged maps. The People's Liberation Army has simply refused to provide any maps that can, actually begin the process of delineation, demarcation and clarifying the disputed line of actual control between India and China. The simple fact of the matter right now is, these noises have been made before. It's not the first time that, an Indian leader and a Chinese leader have agreed to, move forward on the border dispute in a friendly manner and try and conclude it, quickly and peacefully, and that their priority is to bring peace back to the border. The irony, of course, is what's happening on the border, while all of these agreements and words were being spoken, is what's happening in Demchok and in Chumur. Now one might say that this has happened before. These are pressure tactics that have happened before. China has always spoken down to India. They don't speak from a position of equality, but from a position of superiority as far as the border issue is concerned. But I think the simple fact that the Prime Minister Modi has made it a point to specify there is an urgent need to unstall the entire process of clarifying the line of actual control is important.
Right, absolutely. Strategic Affairs Editor Gaurav Sawant is also joining us live. Gaurav, a 90-minute meeting, and as Shiv says over there that all the right noises have been made, but these are noises that have been made in the past as well. How is this joint statement specifically on the border resolution any different from what we've heard before?
Never before has India taken up this border issue so emphatically like it did this time. Prime Minister Narendra Modi going to the extent of saying that a peaceful border is the very foundation of good ties with China. So border incursions cannot continue if China wants good ties with India. It's the most emphatic way that India has taken up the border issue with China so far. And let me read out what Prime Minister Narendra Modi said. He says that he raised serious concerns over repeated incidents along the border and agreed that peace and tranquility in the border region constitutes an essential foundation of mutual trust and confidence to realize the full potential of this relationship. It's an important understanding which should be strictly observed. So basically what he's saying is whatever mechanism needs to be evolved should be evolved. But peace and tranquility is essential if India and China want to realize the real potential of this relationship. So this is more than just the right kind of noises being made. I have covered summit level talks between India and China in the past. Usually there would be a 1 or 2 line reference. This time it's been done very, very emphatically and at length.
Right, I'd like to bring in Shiv at this point in time. Shiv, would you agree that the language used this time was perhaps more than just the 1 or 2 statements that we usually hear? Would you agree with the view that this is perhaps a more emphatic stance that the Indian government has finally taken on the border issue?
Absolutely. That's precisely what I said. This is the first time that the Indian government has said there is an urgent need to de-stall actually get back to clarifying the line of actual control. Now that particular point is going to be the centerpiece of this effort by the Indian government. The right noises have been made, emphasis has been made, you can call it what you like. But the simple fact that the Narendra Modi government has decided to refer to clarifying the line of action control and specifically refer to that as an urgent requirement, is something new, and it takes things forward. On the other hand, it remains to be seen what happens after this meeting, Rishika. Both sides have said that they need to evolve a new direction as far as the border issue is concerned. There is a border mechanism, that is in the process of evolution at this time. But the fact that nothing changes substantively on the ground, despite a lot of, things being said between politicians, is the chief area of concern. So what we need to see now is what happens over the next 6 to 12 months as delegations between India and China work out, conduct the follow-up, and see what the follow-up really is to make sure that what these two leaders have agreed upon across the table in Delhi actually reflects on the line of actual control.
Absolutely. Whether these diplomatic noises actually reflect on the line of control is the big question. Shiva Rood and Gaurav Sawant, stay on with me. The Indo-China bilateral meet is Modi's true test of tactical diplomacy. On one hand, the Chinese president was accorded the Guard of Honor at the Rashtrapati Bhavan on day 2 of what has been a very public engagement with China. On the other hand, there were reports of over 1,000 Chinese border regiment troops marching 5 kilometers into the Indian territory in the area of Ladakh. Now, in the latest on this developing confrontation, Indian troops have in fact pushed back the Chinese troops by 2 kilometers. And even as we speak, the two sides are in a clear line of sight of each other. It is really, quite literally speaking, an eyeball-to-eyeball confrontation that is still very much on. I'd like to bring in Shiv at this point in time. Shiv, while, there was a lot of friendly handshakes and a lot of diplomatic gestures that we saw, from the strolls along the Sabarmati yesterday to, of course, the delegation level talks held today, the 12 MOUs being signed, the right kind of noises that are in fact being made on the border resolution. The fact of the matter is that the Indian and Chinese troops are very much in, sight of each other even as we speak.
That's right, but we must clarify one thing. Our intelligence agencies, the armed forces were fully prepared for this sort of thing. This is such a, tried and tested sort of, tactic that China has used.
Absolutely.
Every time, one of their senior leaders comes, or just before or just after, to serve as a kind of pressure reminder to India, what China is capable of, and just to, up the ante and up the narrative as far as China's position of supposed superiority is concerned. There were no surprises. So India wasn't really caught off guard or anything like that, like, some other television channels, appear to be suggesting quite falsely. My sources on the ground, both at the 14 Corps in Leh as well as at the unit level in Chumur, say that this was very much anticipated. They've rushed reinforcements there just to make sure that there's no further intrusion. And like Gaurav and I have been reporting through today, the Chinese border regiment troops, which are not the People's Liberation Army, we should make that distinction. They're from a different service of the Chinese military. They've been pushed back about 2 kilometers. So obviously the Indian forces deployed there have managed to somewhat diffuse the situation, but we also need to specify, Rishika, that those troops are still very much on India's perceived territory across the line of actual control. So you're right in pointing out that while you've got the bonhomie, while you've got the camaraderie, the handshakes, the MOUs, all that warmth and imagery in Delhi and Ahmedabad, that's a real face-off. I'm told that in one particular area, they're as much as just about 400 meters from each other.
Right, absolutely. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has repeatedly reiterated that a resolution of the border conflict and demarcation, delineation of those boundaries is in fact crucial for Indo-China relations going forward. Thanks, Gaurav and Shiv, for joining us with those perspectives. We're going to continue to come back to you for more analysis of those statements and, of course, continue to take stock of the situation on the ground.